Welcome back to the Debrief. We had our gameplay footage from Ready or Not Reviewed live by Kinetic Concepts a few days ago, and now we're sifting through the live stream to gather all the information possible to improve from it. This particular mission review was both frustrating and funny for a few reasons. For one, it's very annoying to see the same mistake that he pointed out at the very beginning of the live stream continue throughout every mission. Specifically how we handled stacking on doors and clearing dead space. I'm not annoyed at Kinetic Concepts for pointing it out. I want to make that abundantly clear. It's not his fault. I'm annoyed at our gameplay for repeatedly making the same mistakes over and over and over and over and over again. And the Neon Tomb mission was specifically funny due to the live chat that was going on. I definitely distracted Kinetic Concepts from doing his job by leaving funny comments back to back. At one point, I did tell him that if the live stream went on any longer, I was going to need a good night kiss on the forehead. We can blame that one on alcohol. It also doesn't help that Neon Tomb is incredibly visually and audibly just harassing to the system throughout its entirety. So all that being said, let's get into it. We're making our entry.
Clear so far. Open right. Open left.
Being with you.
Opens up left. Suspect. One down.
Don't stand up.
The first guy into this big space, like you treat it like an open room. Just push as far towards the next wall as you can. And the reason for that is because there's dead space over here on your left. Let me kind of show you guys right here. Right here, there's dead space, and there's a door here, which is closed, but if it was open, or if there was a door a little bit farther over here, then you're not seeing that, right, until you're right up on it, or it's seeing you first, and now you're focused over here, because there's things going on here, but we haven't actually looked over here or checked over here yet. So push across and collapse the room down. I can't tell what's going on behind us here, but my question is, what is going on behind us? How many people do we have here? Let's see.
Plugging left. Stairs going up.
So if this is everybody that we have, 1, 2, 3, 4, then the person we're seeing is 5. Immediate threat is to the left. It's an opening. You would hold on this larger area straight ahead and clear to the left. That makes sense. And since you only need 2 people to enter a room, but preferably we know this is a big room, this person, if you were going to continue past here and just kind of flow and let's just knock everything out as quickly as possible and use the minimum amount of required people to do that, then just this guy would like squeeze this guy or say, hey, I got you or whatever, and then they would clear this little space, or at least take it, just the initial one. Why are we not clearing that other space behind us first?
Got it. Alright, Drew, make your point. Make sure we have one step moving left to right. Good shots. Let's move. Makes be sure to plug that on the right.
But I can't see, right? So if you look, you know, not really cross coverage. Maybe they kind of had it initially, and then he's taking the open door. He's taking this open door to the left. The person that I'm viewing here needs to immediately get his back, which would be this area over here. We can't see it from here. So that would be like the thought, just automatically. He's facing that way. Oh, he's exposed. I need to get his back. And make sure that to the right is clear first. And then kind of go to the left. Kind of glanced at it right there.
I got a door here. I need one on me.
Copy, you got Dan.
Straight in.
that's a good point. Someone said check behind the bar before passing it. It's something you would do too. Just another.
We're gonna need at least one person holding the stairs down here, and then one person holding their ass behind them.
Okay, I'm holding 6.
Okay,
Steps.
So maybe a team of 3 holding that stairway and that. Yeah, you guys got it. You guys got it.
Right.
Okay.
Can I get a bang to that right side? There's a threshold bottom left.
If they made the process of like gathering a banger and then deploying it as I don't want to say difficult isn't the right word. You guys would probably never throw one ever in games, or let's say time consuming, right? And one of the things that people like to point out, which is just not reality, you know, and a lot of times, especially if I happen to be talking to a military guy who has a lot of training and experience, and I face them with a problem, which the problem is just like, hey, we have to clear these rooms, and there could be a suspect in here, but we don't know. They would say, when I'm explaining like a structural problem with the CQB, meaning like it just the layout of the house and this hallway or these rooms makes this impossible and really, you know, bad if there's a shooter there, they always say, oh, well, you know, throw a banger. And it's like, well, you just can't. You can't just throw a banger because somebody might be in there. Like, that's not what cops do. And so eliminating that tool. But then the other thing that even in an active situation, people will say, oh, you know, bang every room or whatever. First of all, let's say a team enters and everybody has 2 bangers, right? How big's the building, right? We're only going to be able to toss so many. And if we want to continuously move throughout the structure, let's say he's an active shooter and we're just like trying to clear everything and we know he's in here, you can't end up in a position where you have a banger in your hand, but you're actually supposed to be on the gun, right? And so you can prep a banger at the entry point, and if there's a lull or something, but it's really difficult it's impossible actually to continuously toss bangers in every room and continue moving. It just can't be done, because the process required to actually retrieve the banger, prep it, you know, show it to the person and do all that, which if there's exigent, you can probably skip over that and just yell banger. But it just doesn't happen. So you have to either say, hey, we're going to take the time necessary to deploy a banger before we go in, or we're just not going to have that available to us, because we can tell people, hey, try to get the banger ready, you know, be thinking ahead, have your head up and look up, and, you know, if you're third in the stack, you know, you should be ready. But yeah, it's a problem. One thing that is also not captured in the gameplay and is actually going into a building that you've never been into before and not really knowing where you're at or where it's going or what it's leading to. And so I think at times here we're asking, like, is this area clear? But you've never actually seen it yet because you just weren't there. Or, you know, hey, we're about to enter this space, but you wouldn't really know that in real life because you've never been in there before. There are times where you can know that, where it may be obvious. You know, maybe if you're on the outside of a school or a building and it says auditorium, like, hey, we're about to enter the auditorium or something, right? If, like, you're in a club or something where there's a lot of loud music, if you have a bunch of people that are trying to clear, I mean, you're probably not going to be able to hear on the radios, which is a problem. So it's probably upon somebody to start, like, moving that direction and trying to figure out how to shut that off so we can actually do our job. Same thing with, like, lights, maybe. If it's dim or dark in a big building, you know, you'll have guys going around with flashlights, and then a guy will look and be like, huh. Like, oh, well, that's great, thank you. Just something to look out for.
So that was Neon Tomb. Next up is Ides of March. There's one incredibly funny moment in this one where we as a collective team wanted to do exactly what Kinetic talks about here in a second, but our teammate Drew wanted to be a cowboy. Don't worry, we've already bullied him. We've already bullied him thoroughly for his mistake. Although if everyone got in the comments and bullied him there too, I wouldn't be too upset. Here you go.
Here's something that you have to understand about panning. So we're talking about like pieing something slowly, right? And panning, you have to know at what speed, or you have to ask yourself what you're sacrificing. Are you panning so quickly that you're just trying to get set up cross coverage with the understanding that you're probably not going to be able to identify and react to what could be anywhere in this room and then actually hit, right? And if you go back, the debunking CQB part 1 video, do that. That's panning across, right? And you could do that same drill. That's what I was doing a lot of, to try and figure out what was my speed that I could cross the threshold and engage. That's kind of where I came to that understanding that you either are going to move across so that you're harder of a target to hit and let the other guy pick up on that area that you kind of glance past, or you're going to move at a speed in which you could accurately or process information and accurately shoot. And I can tell you, if you have an unknown person in the room in an unknown location and you don't know if they're a threat or not, that speed at which you can do that is not very fast. Like, it's really not. And you could test it. Put your buddy in the room and give them a weapon, have them not have a weapon, obviously not real. You watch that video, I explain it pretty well, and you figure out what that is, and you might come to the conclusion, like, I'm just gonna get across the door and get set up on it. Or, mission will dictate to you, right? But I will say this, and you can see me do it in the second part 2 video of that, where I'm doing the active shooter response thing. I'm just kind of running down the hallway. There's a brief video of me slowing down and then looking inside the room. It's a corner fed room. But what I found out was if I sprint, I'm more likely to be moving too quickly, even trying to slow myself down to process the information inside the room and be able to hit, than if I just kind of jogged and then slowed myself down much sooner. And most people, if they're sprinting down the hall to get to the room where the guy went into, and they also are going to do a pan, they're not going to shoot that guy or be able to shoot that guy on their first pan of the door, because they're just going to be moving too fast. So I don't necessarily think that there's right or wrong, but I would prefer to move at a speed. Like, if I'm going to pan, I'm going to move at a speed in which I can actually engage, and it's just not going to be quick. Just can't be. Or I'm going to, the mission will be different. Maybe I'm just slowly pieing it off. Overall, what's your out of 10? What is your grade? Game limitations included. The only thing, I don't know if I could rate it because it's a game, right? It's just hard. I would just say like the number one thing is this door situation. Understanding that when the door comes open, that dude in there has you first. And if you're standing anywhere within that where he can see you, then there's a good chance you're getting shot first. And maybe he's not hitting you and you're able to respond. When you're set up cross coverage, you're not standing in front of the door and you're only seeing a little bit of the room, right? So you don't have to process everything. So that's not a big deal. I would take more time to deploy bangers too, if we have them, because it seems like we have them. We're just not using them. So I would do that. Other than that, most things seem okay. There's a lot of taking rooms by yourself also, which isn't something that you would do unless you had to. So if you came to a location where you branched off and you ended up in a spot where you're looking at an open, I say an open door, and you want to take that room, you would ask for support first, and then you would take it. And I don't know if it allows you in this game, but the video I just put out, the CQB video, if you are going to take a room by yourself, is it better to take the room by yourself and have a 50-50 chance of the guy being in front of you or behind you? Or is it better to kind of snap the corner, peek the corner of the threshold? So let's just say, for example, that this guy that is over here on the left is looking into this space and he sees that it's clear. You know, we may still put somebody in that room, right? So we might do a barrel wave here, and this guy over here may snap this corner, because you kind of have to, just because that's what the environment says that we have to do. We have two opposing threats, but let's also say that this isn't the space we need to do that. He checks off and says, hey, it's clear, and it's all clear. So again, instead of this guy peeking this corner right up on the corner, I think there's a shooting here, right? So that's a good example. Somebody else wide from this direction can actually start clearing this much sooner from farther away. And this guy would just hold up about a meter or about 3 feet from the wall. If he does that, then this guy has, you know, priority of fire and can do what he needs to do. And then from there, this guy over here, he's looking deep this direction. He's the one that starts pushing, and when he does that, he pushes wide, right? He starts pushing along this wall over here.
Suspect seen.
One down right.
Got one door open left.
Drew, that was kind of choppy. Hold on, let me... Oh god, oh god.
Come on, Drew. Getting people shot here. But that's kind of what I was talking about.
One down right.
So it doesn't make sense, right? And this is what we're avoiding by doing what I just said. If the guy that's holding along starts to work along this side, this guy can stay right here on this corner, and now we have two guns that are pointing in the general direction of the threat. And we also have this over here, right? So I think what ends up happening is this all gets cut off. But this guy, if he stayed here at the corner and kind of snap this or peek this as this guy's looking along, he would have, you know, this direction more or less if the guy's already looking that way. I really like that the person that we're viewing here is maintaining his responsibility. So, because you'd see a lot of guys give up what they're doing and try to get involved, but it's good that he is maintaining his responsibility as his buddy just gets destroyed. There's a Drew on every team, that's funny.
Oh my god, you're getting peckered.
He's down. Sorry, my flashlight was too bright.
He's down.
Megs, you want to replace his spot?
Yep.
Alright, 3, 2.
So, let's think about this too, right? I mean, you asked earlier about pieing, right? We kind of moved quickly to get here, right? And what we could have done if we were doing a smaller, slower pie, if there's no reason to rush because people aren't actively being shot, or we don't believe people are actually, maybe they are here, but injured and need our assistance, because we're obviously not helping people, right? This is a game. We're just, arresting people or shooting people. So I would take that shorter. I wouldn't overexpose myself as quickly as I can, for reasons of being able to process things, for reasons of making myself a larger target, for reasons of if I overexpose myself quickly and now there's a shooting, what are my options, right? It's going to take me longer to get back to perceived cover or concealment. So, and if that shooting starts right there as you're pieing, what are you going to do? I mean, instinctively, you're going to try to get back, right? Try to duck back and then try to look for work, versus kind of what happened here, which is not ideal. Also, we're not really checking behind doors. Going into this room here.
This time I got the Admiral.
Copy, go left.
I think you actually kind of did that. But if we were doing a one-man CQB and we didn't have a team, we were doing it by ourselves.
Admiral.
Copy.
I guess there's this, like, I don't know, whatever they call this thing, wardrobe thing. But if we lean to the left and we can kind of check all of that, and we can actually go inside the room a little bit and really check that corner, right? It seems like. And then the greatest threat would be to the right. I think I've noticed a lot of times you never really run the rabbit, I don't think, they say, which is, they think, most people will say it's the better option because theoretically someone's tracking you. I would prefer that too myself.
We going left.
Contact is down.
Never mind. You kind of did that. Yeah, that's pretty much how I would do it. The decision making I would do if I was doing it by myself, just like that. Check to the left, make sure there's nothing there, and then go left. Check to the right, then go back to get the widest angle over this direction. It also really sucks that no doors are swinging all the way open. They should fix that in this game. And you know what they should also do? They should make the doors, yeah, they could swing all the way open, and sometimes maybe there's like a meter, right? Like kind of like NFL game where you're kicking the ball into the goalpost, where you go to work the door and open the door, and there's like a meter where you can select as it's kind of going like this how much force you want to use on the door, and then the door may come open all the way, maybe it won't, maybe you work the door too hard and the door actually rebounds off the wall and then comes back. Then as you enter, the door is kind of coming back towards you, which isn't ideal. That would be pretty cool. That would be something easy for them to do, I'm sure. Yeah, because every one of these doors that doesn't open all the way in real life is an issue now, right? It'd be pretty annoying in the game to have to do that all the time, to check behind every door, when in reality the door comes open all the way and touches the wall. Yeah, you're good. And that's kind of crazy. I was just thinking that in my head, and then you just did it. I guess you can do this. Is being able to turn your head without moving your gun, without facing that direction. You're doing it right here.
Ready to
Friendly's
go.
on your left.
Entry team to talk.
Copy.
Civilian is ready to go.
That's pretty cool. I don't know if I've seen you do that. And that is a really relevant thing to be doing. The only time you wouldn't do that is if you were the only one that was focusing on a threat area. You shouldn't take your eyes off of it. But, you know, when the structures are not these training environment structures where there's like everything's just perfect and neat and we've been in here 100 times and we know where everything is, in real life, I mean, you're gonna have a tendency to check, you know, just left and right every so often to make sure you're not like exposing yourself to a greater threat that somebody hasn't covered, you know. Yeah, so it does happen, but that's cool that you can look.
This concludes the debrief of the Kinetic Concepts livestream. The goal is to use this information to vastly improve our gameplay and tactics, remake the marathon videos on Ready or Not with our new tactics and replays enabled, and then ideally repeat this livestream. Once Kinetic Concepts sees how much a team of people can improve just from 1 2-hour live stream to show the mistakes made and improvements that could be made, I believe there will be a lot more instances of utilizing these games to teach tactics. Well, that's all I've got for you today. Hope everyone had some laughs, but more importantly, I hope we all learned something. I know I learned a lot. Have a good one.